Hello. So you're learning Musette. This is a very pretty tune. I think probably the bowings are one of the most challenging things in this piece. So I would recommend that when you're learning this piece, depends what kind of learner you are. But generally, I'd recommend that you don't approach this piece as I'll figure out the notes and then I'll figure out the bowings later type of piece. I would not recommend doing that. Unless that's never really been a problem for you. Unless you've always approached all the songs like that, it's never been hard for you to adjust bowings. But typically, in this piece, I would be thinking about the bowings right away. Okay, that being said, let's first start with a scale. And we're gonna start with a D major, pretty stop pony scale with a high E at the top. So you're gonna play fourth finger on A at the top of the 1 octave D major scale. And so stop pony, only one stop pony per note, and starting up bow. So let's do that together. Add the fourth finger. And if you'll notice, I was doing a crescendo on the way up and then a decrescendo on the way down. So getting louder on the way up, getting quieter on the way down. So that would be nice if you practice it that way too. Okay, let's do some bow exercises, up bow circles, and then some tick-tocks. And smiles. We're going to be thinking about smiles in our bow during this song quite a bit. Okay, so we're going to play the ending first. So first I just want you to play the melody notes. And actually, we might as well start that with an up bow. Okay, once you've done that a bunch of times, now do... Maybe now do that as slurs, those little notes. Now back to the... Now we combine. Bach is really famous. Bach wrote this piece. Bach is really... one of his things that he does a lot is having there be a moving melody line or notes that are moving in a very melodious way, and then having these other extra notes underneath it. So this ending is da, 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 da. That's what we want the audience to hear, but it has these other running notes underneath it. Da, 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 da. So we are giving, 90% to the moving lines, the da 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 da, and very little to the rest of it, 10%. So it's a very dramatic decrescendo on each of these. I don't even know if decrescendo is really the right word because it's like big, little, big, little. So it's I don't know. It's a different type of crescendo. Forte, piano, piano, piano. Forte, piano, piano, piano. Okay. Yeah, make sure that you're tapering off the A's. you know, it's kind of like that by the time I get to the last A. Just barely touching. Okay, that's the coolest part of the whole piece. So, press that. Oh, I might as well show you a harmonic note too. Yeah. So on the last time, that's the end of the second part. We're gonna play the second part twice. So on the second time through the second part, the very last time, we're gonna end with a harmonic. So that's what a harmonic is. So you take your fourth finger, make it super flat. You are not curving it, no umbrella fingers, just like, you know. And then you're gonna bring your hand all the way up there to the bout of the violin, the shoulder of the violin. And it's about there that you're gonna lay your fourth finger across, like wherever it kind of naturally lands there, and play the D string. And so you might hear like, so keep fiddling around until you find, there it is. And maybe you're hearing like, there it is. So you'll know when you're there, right? Keep moving as you're finding it. Keep moving your bow really fast, up and down, so that you really are aware. It'll really bring out once you get it. So you can try that a couple times, just finding that, right? So like you're down in first position and now. And if you're missing it, find where it is. And then think, okay, did I go too far or did I not go far enough? Okay, I went too far. Okay, now try going less and adjust it so you get used to what that distance is. Once you're feeling pretty comfortable with that, now play an up bow A. And as you're playing the up bow A, you're going to travel the hand to the harmonic mark and then on down bow. Back down to first position, travel up. Once you traveled all the way up, stop the bow and then go to a down bow. So, you know, you do that a million times until you've, I don't know, maybe like 4 times in a row correctly. Something like that. So now you can practice. Now you can practice the ending with that. Shift. Cool. And practice that a bunch of times. It's so pretty. Okay. Okay, so then, you know, depending on how we're going in our lessons, generally I teach this, like I try to teach it in units of kind of just like 2 beats at a time, but who knows what we're doing. So I'm just gonna play through now, yelling stuff out. There are a lot of crescendos, which means getting louder, and decrescendos, which means getting quieter. A lot of dynamics, louds and quiets. We're gonna be using 4th finger in here, and there's a lot of slur. No, well, there's not that many slurs, but there are. In the first half, there's barely any slurs, just a couple. And in the second half, there are quite a few slurs. And one of the main slur patterns that comes up in the second half that's really hard is slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. It would probably, you know, behoove us to do that a couple times. So let's sing that a couple times. Slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. One more time. Slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. Now let's sing it with the melody notes. Slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. One more time. Slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. You know, as I'm doing this right now, I think I'm just going to teach you that part right now. Because that's really hard. That's kind of the hardest part of the piece, and that's the part that trips people up. So, radical. I never do this, but let's do it now. So, we're starting up bow. This piece is kind of like an up bow piece, you know, like it's kind of like a Happy Farmer, Oh Come Little Children piece. All the lines start up bow, everything starts up bow. Okay, so this starts up bow. So Remember that you just sing the bowings while I play it. Slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. Now pay attention to my fourth fingers. How often do I do fourth finger and how often do I do open E? Slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. 3 fourth fingers, only 1 open. So we're using fourth finger when we're coming down a scale or if it avoids a string crossing. We're coming down the scale. And side note, I know it says open in the book. We ignore that. 4. Now we go to open E because we're climbing up a scale a little bit. We're climbing down the scale, so fourth finger here. We'll do a fourth finger here because it avoids a string crossing. So you only play the E when it's that when they're going up to the F sharp after it. Okay, so now let's try playing the notes. At first we're skipping. 4, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so little skips there. Let's try that on an up bow. Slur, slur. Now this is a little scale run. Slur, separate, da 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 da. We're gonna start from the high B again, up bow. Slur, 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 separate. One more time. Slur, 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 separate. If you're still struggling with that, pause the video or go back and do that a bunch of times. Okay, next little chunk. Starts on the open E. Slur, 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 separate. So there's no skips here. This is all moving just one note to another note. No crazy jumps or anything. So you start by going up, 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 down, 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 up. And down meaning down the scale, down a finger, not down bows. I can see that being confusing. Again. Okay, and then again, pause the video and redo that a couple times if that's still confusing. Then the last part, slur down. That feels easy now. That's just a scale run coming down. Slur down. Again. Slur down. Okay, now let's combine all of that. Let's play that whole little bit several times in a row. Okay, so we start with the skips. Up bow. Ready, go. Bowings. Slur, 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 separate, slur, 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 separate, slur, down. Let's do it singing the 4s and the opens. 4, 4, open, 4, 4. So whichever thing is more hard for you, the fourth fingers or the slurs, that's the thing that you can be focusing on. Just play that a bunch of times so that's easy. And then lastly, can we add a crescendo through all of that? And then on the last da 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 da, we go down like a decrescendo. So start quiet. Getting louder, getting louder, staying louder, getting very quiet. Good again. Cool. Okay. So again, I've never done that before, teaching that first, but I think that is a fantastic idea. So I'm going to write that in my notes to do that. Okay, now let's play it, okay, from the beginning. Do some smiles here. So up bow, and then I'm just gonna be yelling stuff out, okay? Smile with the bow on the first up bow. Breathe in here. Getting loud, getting quiet. You barely played that A there. Up bow. Fourth finger. Getting louder, louder. Smile with the elbow. Smile. Getting quiet. Getting loud, getting. And his first finger is like the super sunniest note. Loud, getting quiet. Think heavy, light there, or step back. Now this next high A is like so beautiful. We're loud here. Slur, fourth finger, slur, smile, slur, separate, quiet, slur, separate, slur, fourth finger, four, four, then to an open. That reminds us of minuet too, right? Shh. Here's that hard start we practiced a bunch. Same as the beginning. Here's the ending. Repeat, big. Super ringy. Slur, fourth finger, slur, slur. Four, four. A side note here too, it also says forte in the book here. If mom or dad's looking and saying, why is Miss Bridget saying quiet? Do it because I said so. It's better being quiet here. And I know I always say, you know, you have to do what the composer says, and then you can do like whatever else you want. There's maybe like a little debate of what Bach actually wanted there, whether it was piano or forte. So I'm choosing to believe he wanted it to be piano, and that they got it wrong. Crescendo. Decrescendo. Start getting slower, because it's the second time. Here comes the harmonic. Shift. Fade out if you can on that. What a pretty piece. And so many ringing notes, right? It's just such a pretty piece. It can be a really beautiful piece. And at the point of your playing, probably at this point, like in book 2, after doing all that hard stuff in book 1, you can probably play this pretty beautifully. Don't play this like an exercise. Don't just play the notes. Play this with some soul, you know? So I do want to say, because I was talking about, you know, like, oh, it doesn't say this in the book. I did all my book 2. Well, I did my book 2 and my book 3 training from just an absolute legend. And she studied from Suzuki herself. So in my mind, anything Kathy says goes. So this is how Kathy teaches it. And these dynamics are not necessarily written in, but I wanted to, it's gonna be a little bit difficult for me to show it, but I'm gonna show this show you what it looks like. Oh, there we go, on here. So, you know, kiddos, you don't even need to look at this, whatever. But parents, if you are following along in the music, and if you're someone that writes stuff in the music, like little notes to make sure that you remember to say it to your kids in lessons and stuff, in your practicing, feel free to write in these dynamics here, because not many of them are written in, right? So the first two measures, we've got a crescendo, decrescendo. The next couple of measures, it's written in there. Second line starts forte, that's written in. And then a little bit, like a couple measures in, I do a quick decrescendo. Da, da. Okay, so it's written piano here. Da, 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 da. Now I'm on the third line. Scratch out that forte and put in a piano. That's measure 8. And then you can write crescendo growing throughout the whole line until the very last measure. You do a decrescendo on just those 4 notes. And then last line, you do that same crescendo up and decrescendo in the first 2 measures. And then at the end, you could write in a decrescendo under every single 4-note sequence. The da 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 da. And yeah, obviously you can pause this right here and mark these in if I went too fast there. The dynamics are really important in this. So do those, please. Okay.